Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones. This is a podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, both on the big screen and the small screen, and on the special presentation screen, I guess.
All the screens.
All of the screens. Your phones, those two. I'm, of course, your host, Derick McDuff, and joining me today is another podcaster. He's been on Underrated and a couple other podcast things I've been on. I've been on his show, which is, of course, the album concept hour, and that is Brad LaBaron. How's it going, Brad?
Hey, what's going on? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on this. I'm always looking for an outlet for my Marvel thoughts, and you have allowed me onto your platform. So thank you very much.
Yeah, glad to have you. I'm excited because, we were kind of, chopping it up beforehand, and you
Yeah.
mentioned that, I know it's the same way for me, where it's like, I'll have all these things that I love talking about watching in real life, and I'm like, man, could maybe do some podcasting about this,
Yeah. Cool. Because I'm a fan of Marvel discussion content, because it's such a big universe, and there's all sorts of little thought experiments you can have talking about your favorite superheroes and stuff, and just that it's always been that kind of playground conversation that we all love. So I'm
Of
I'm
course,
I'm
today,
excited.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited too, and we're
Yeah.
going to be talking about Daredevil Born Again Season 2,
Hell
as
yeah.
well as the Marvel special presentation of Punisher One Last Kill, which all just both dropped recently. Of course, also the MCU adjacent Spider-Man Noir just dropped all of it yesterday as of
Oh
recording.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll
That's
be
right.
doing a bonus episode for that, but because I would
Yeah.
sometimes I'll do if it's something that's MCU adjacent, like
Yeah.
it's a Marvel thing, but it's not in the MCU, the sacred timeline, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
616 proper. Sometimes I'll
Yeah.
do a bonus, so I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that's gonna be a on a Patreon or what, but I'll do something with that. But for now, we're sticking to the main MCU here. Um,
Yeah.
Before we get into Daredevil and Punisher, you talked about being a Marvel fan. What's your
Yeah.
history with Marvel and the MCU?
So I would say I've always been a comic book movie junkie to start out with. I when I was a kid, that's every new comic book movie that came out, I'd watch, and I lived through the Spider-Man trilogy, which was epic. The X-Men, at least the first two, very epic. And yeah, so for a long time, that was the extent of my fandom was the movies, almost exclusively, because I just I thought about the comics. Seemed like there was just too many of them, too much to it seemed like a daunting task to get into the comics of it all too. But recently, I've actually been really deep diving into the comics because I got a library card. Remember, guys,
Oh,
your local
nice.
libraries, you can read as many comics as you want. And I've been really, really reading some of the older stories, and I read Captain America Origins and the Black Panther Origins and stuff, and really seeing where they came from and where they're going is very exciting. I think. I mean, if you've been a fan of this stuff all your life, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. But that being said, I know there's people that are probably sick of the superhero stuff by now, but I for one am not in any way ever going to be sick of it. I'm the perfect audience for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. I think of I can't remember, I think it might have been Patrick Williams or somebody who said it was just like, yeah, like it was like we barely had anything for comic book movies when he was a kid. Like there was like Batman and Robin, and that was really it
mhm.
until you get to the X-Men and Spider-Man stuff. And now it's like there was a Cloak and Dagger show that ran for 2 seasons. It
Yeah,
was incredible. No one watched it, like and that's the
yeah,
state we're
yeah.
at with
There's
Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I watch I'm a big Agents of Shield fan,
Mm.
and I think that especially seeing the Netflix stuff having this kind of second life, as an Agents of Shield fan, I'm like, oh man, but when are we going to see Coulson again on the big screen?
Mm.
You know?
He hasn't died enough times. He's only died 8 times.
Yeah, I
Really
know.
make him back again.
Yeah, yeah. They could just do a little montage of
Yeah.
what he's been up to for 8 seasons or whatever they
Mhm.
did. But yeah, they really did. Especially in that first kind of push of the MCU idea, like they made so much. And I'm really glad that they're starting to finally kind of pick the pieces of that they want to bring forward in the MCU.
Yeah, and I mean, well, to get into Daredevil a little bit because I kind of talked about this when I talked about season 1 last year when it
Yeah,
came out, but I think it's even more relevant with season 2 is
yeah,
they were like they weren't really sure what was going to happen with Daredevil for like the long time. It looks like the Netflix
mhm,
shows were kind of going to be decanonized or at least be like, yeah, it was a different universe,
yeah,
And then when it was coming, and then you get Charlie Cox shows up
yeah,
in No Way Home, and then Kingpin shows up in the Hawkeye show. So it's like, all right, well, these versions of these characters existing
yeah,
in
yeah.
like in
What
the
version
MCU,
is it?
right?
Yeah.
Exactly, and if for those who aren't aware, apparently it was going to be a different version of Matt Murdock existing in the
Mhm.
MCU, and that after about shooting half that season, uh, uh, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio were like, no, this is not working, and it is bad, which is why there's like weird tonal differences in that first season.
Right. Yeah.
And then this season though is all kind of like, which is kind of like why I feel like this is almost Daredevil Born Again season 1B, where it's like okay, because
Right.
it was supposed to be, I think, a full like 18 episodes. Gets chopped into
Mhm.
seasons of 8 episodes.
Yeah.
And you can really feel that this does feel like the second half of a season, but it is really like even more than that first season because now they are really operating from like instead of being like, okay, we're gonna retrofit this thing that wasn't supposed to be a continuation directly of the
Yeah.
Netflix show into a continuation. Now they're like, we are just full off and running with everything
Yes.
that was on that Netflix show. We are, and
Yes.
not only that show, but they are bringing in the stuff from the Defenders, which I was
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, Jessica Jones, like spoilers for all this. Like she was spoiled, we knew she was coming. But Jessica
Right.
Jones, and then of course, we hear allusions to Luke Cage. There's lots of
Yeah.
like Wesley shows up. Like I'm like, Wesley is in this shit. There's like a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
stuff of like if you did watch those old Netflix shows, because like Luke Cage never showed up on Daredevil proper. Jessica Jones didn't. They showed up in a
Yeah.
crossover thing, but it was
Right.
great to see them together again.
Yeah.
Like all those characters, and obviously we got Punisher in the first half. He came from Daredevil.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great to see these characters being implemented back into the MCU. No
Yeah.
Iron Fist yet, which I don't think anyone's really upset about. Like, I don't think there's any
Well,
diehards for
okay.
that version of
I
the
will say
character.
one thing. I'm going to
Yeah.
defend Iron Fist for 1 second.
Okay.
The first season, notoriously bad.
Hmm.
I'm not going to argue for that. But the second season, they really did try, and like it's not bad. It's not a
The second,
bad
I will agree
season.
with you. I agree
Yeah,
with you there.
but like it's like the damage was already done. There was
Mhm.
no way anyone was going to invest the time besides, hardcore fans. There's no way
Right.
anyone else was going to invest the time in that. But like the end of Iron Fist season 2 is so hype. Like they're like infusing guns with the Iron Fist like
Yeah.
power or something. It's so cool. So like I'm definitely glad that they against all reason decided that they're going to bring these guys back in because like they didn't have to.
Yeah. No, they didn't have to. They made, and like when you're like Jessica has a kid, and you're like, oh, it's Luke Cage's kid,
Yeah,
and you're
it's
like,
like it's been a while. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think I was more saying like I don't know that I also really thought that second season of Iron Fist was really good. Especially like
Yeah.
Ward Meacham and Colleen Wing were super interesting. I didn't care that much about Finn Jones. I don't think he's very good, but I think the
Yeah.
second season and also Defenders realized how to use him, which is like this
Yeah.
guy is kind of an idiot, and
Yes.
like everyone around him is just like, God damn it, Iron. Like I think there's a line in Defenders where Stick,
Yeah.
Daredevil's mentor, calls him a thundering dumbass, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
they've figured out, and if they can do that going forward, like he
Yeah.
actually is like I think there's an episode of I can't remember if it was him being on Luke Cage or the other way around. But
Yeah.
there's an episode where they team up, and I'm like, this is the most I've ever liked Iron
Yeah,
Fist.
that
Like,
was yeah. I think he was coming into the Iron Fist
mhm,
or Luke Cage's show,
yeah,
and yeah, that was a cool arc. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he's like a himbo, kind of like almost like a
yeah,
Thor presence, you know?
yeah,
He's from an
yeah.
otherworldly place, and
Mhm.
yeah. A little naive,
A
you
little
know?
like, and I think they did some interesting stuff with like there because he was a little bit white saviorish, problematic in
Yeah.
that first season, and the second season was like
Oh yeah,
actually like
yeah.
Colleen Wing is like a real cool person, and you kind of like the Iron Fist kind of just stole her like awesome pirate powers or whatever. I don't even remember, but it was something shit, it's like some shit that was cool like that, you know?
Yeah. I think that they really did, yeah, in that second season try to bring it back. And yeah, and I think that you know, especially talking about the Netflix shows moving forward, like they did the work while it was happening to make it connect to the MCU. You know what I mean? They
Yes,
did
yeah,
their homework as well as Agents of Shield. Like there were some of the shows that didn't even try to really connect, you know, like Legion, you know, that was just its own thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's I think they did a really good job even like back then of doing the homework. So like it makes sense to me that like after like thinking about it and kind of putting his ego aside, Kevin Feige was like, you know what? Maybe I was a little harsh on the Netflix era, guys. I'm sorry. You know?
Yeah, it's good to see them brought back into the fold, and
Yeah.
seeing Jessica Jones and everything show up, and yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, like to kind of go back to Daredevil. What did you? Because we've talked about like stuff surrounding it,
Yeah.
but what did you think of the season 2 itself?
So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. You know, like the cinematography excellent, like the way they introduce characters, like there's just it's just dripping with style, you know what I mean? Stuff straight from the pages. And yeah, very few low moments. I think that's like very few like moments where I like felt like they were kind of wasting my time or something. And that's one thing I want to talk about just in general in this conversation is like the uh there was this kind of Netflixization of TV during those early days of streaming where like uh it all dropped at the same time, and a lot of times that meant that there was a couple straight up filler episodes,
Yeah.
episodes that like you really could just skip and be fine.
Mhm.
And like they were just kind of racing for the end of the season, and like the beginning of the season and the end of the season were always pretty good, but then the middle, like they're just kind of meandering, didn't know what was they were doing. And I think that lately with these shorter shows, they've been doing a lot better of a job of like, you know, each episode being its own thing and having its own stakes. And so yeah, I think that's what, for me at least, why, you know, what is upgraded from the, you know, past model that they had. Like they're still doing the gritty Netflix stuff, but there's no filler, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it really. I think the 8 episodes, like I said, week to week, I think definitely helps with that a
Yeah.
lot. I feel like the pacing is really
Yes.
good. I was actually kind of surprised that we didn't get Jessica till later on, but there is just a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, that was something like they advertised it, you
Hmm.
know, a lot, you know, they're like, "Hey, she's coming back." But yeah, it was like what, episode
I think it
5
was
or
six. She
yeah,
shows
maybe
up.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was
but
late.
yeah, I think it's a big part of it is because really, I think so much of this season 2 is on this like this quadrant of characters and their like different
Mhm.
moralities, where you
Yeah,
have Daredevil himself, you have Kingpin, you have Bullseye, and you have Karen, and kind of
yeah,
how they
yeah,
all are like rotating around each other, and how they all have different ideals about what
yeah,
do we do in this. Like Daredevil's like draws like a line in the sand. He's like, I'm not gonna kill. Not only that, I'm gonna like
yeah,
save people who don't deserve to be saved. Like he saves Kingpin at the end of the last season. Then
yeah,
he saves that scene when he saves Bullseye, and Bullseye is
yeah,
dying. Like Bullseye, who he hates more than he probably
yes,
hates Bullseye almost more than Kingpin.
yeah,
And he's dying, and he's like, leave me behind. Bullseye's like, leave me behind. And Bullseye is like a piece of shit, but
yeah,
you still gotta
yeah,
like him because he's kind of like charismatic, and he's like doing cool shit where he's like bouncing forks off the ground and like
yeah.
stabbing, stand-ins
He had
for
a
ice
real
in the face
glow
and
up.
stuff.
He had a real glow up this
He
season.
really did. Like I
Oh,
was like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
damn.
Probably biggest
Uh,
blow up of the cast.
and
Like, oh my god.
he's so good, and he's just kind of like this almost fun sociopath. But he's like now
Yeah,
my views like he's like I'm aligned with you where I want to take Kingpin out because he betrayed me. And Karen's
yeah,
like, yeah, you should let him die. We should also kill Kingpin. And she's like,
yeah,
I regret every day. Like I live with this like weight of what I did to Wesley back in season
yeah,
one. She's like, but I wouldn't change it. I'm glad it happened. Like it set us
yep,
on the path that like we. And then you have Kingpin who's just like this, total like this. He had this. He won't expose Daredevil. For being Matt Murdock, they have that like respect for each other, but he still like hates him and want to destroy him. And the
yeah,
way the four of those moralities all interact and intersect is where I feel like so much of the drama comes from, especially in this
yeah.
season.
Yeah, they did the arcs with the morality that they're dealing with is very interesting. I think that the big complaint I have seen is like, oh, why doesn't he kill Kingpin? Or, why does he, after Kingpin does all this carnage or whatever, which we'll get to, but why does he, let him live or whatever and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, first of all, it's a comic and it's Kingpin. You're not just going to off Kingpin like that. uh Continuity damned or whatever, like that's just kind of how it works. But like the second thing though is like you know him choosing to go on this redemption arc is the point or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that's the classic hero ideal, not killing you. Like one thing I wrote down is in this season he's out Batmaning Batman
Yeah.
because like the Batman, first of all, the investigative stuff so
Hmm.
good. And like that's for me, me growing up with Batman the animated series, that's what I loved about Batman, is like he was like also kind of an investigator guy, which the movies do a little, to an extent, the Batman, of course, the best version of that. But like it's just, yeah, it's kind of reminding me a little bit of that like early 90s Batman, the no kill rule being one of the main things, and something people complain about, but like it becomes a core part of their character. And it's like, it's I think it's fine if they have a line in the sand. It's something that people have debated for years with, whether they, it's justified to kill the bad guy, considering all the carnage they do and the lives that they've taken, completely legitimate question and argument, and Karen saying that in a lot of the season, questioning Daredevil's perspective on things. She's not wrong, you
Hmm.
know. And I think that um they could have done a little bit better. Like I mean, as someone, that's lived through a lot of, protests and activism and stuff, there was like the only like low point for me, I think, is like the portraying the protesters as like a mob type thing, which she's not really necessarily a part of, but she is she's grappling with some of the kind of revolutionary ideas, and finding where that line is, herself as someone that's trying to do good in the world, amongst a lot of evil and shit. And I would like to see, I would have maybe liked to see a little more of that, of Karen's story, but there's only so much time. But yeah, just a tiny critique.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the protesting stuff because that was such a big through line for the season and
Yeah,
last season too.
yeah,
And it feels so relevant for what we're like living
yeah,
through, today, where it's like there's this strong man politician who's running this place, and it's ironic because
yeah,
like
right,
he's like the mayor of New York, and in reality we
yeah.
have like a cool woke mayor in New York, who's just like
Yeah,
John.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, he's like the
but
anti-Fisk.
exactly, but now
Yeah.
it's like very and it's I appreciate that Kingpin, who's obviously existed for many many years before our current political climate. He was on Daredevil before even the Daredevil show goes back to 2015. So
Yeah.
kind of predating, what we're going through now.
Yeah,
So it's not
yeah.
like it's just like Kingpin is just doing a Trump impression. Like that was
Right,
my problem with
right,
like something like Mickey 17, where it's just like Mark Ruffalo's just doing a Trump, but he's
right,
clearly an
right.
authoritarian figure. We are living through authoritarian times right now,
Mhm.
with the armed agents being like rounding up people, putting them in cages. There's a lot
Yeah,
of parallels you could draw,
definitely.
but you could draw that to other, situations as well. And that's something I feel
Yeah.
like, for example, Andor also does really well, where Andor
Oh,
was like,
right,
okay,
yeah,
this is like about the
yeah.
U.S., but it's also there's lines you can draw to like the French Resistance and like all these
Mhm,
other things that are
mhm.
happening. And I think you could say the same for this. I
Yeah.
don't think, like I said, I don't think it handles it quite as well as Andor. Like Andor is like a master class for me. Like Andor's like
Right,
one of the
right.
best shows ever. But this
Yeah.
does pretty good, and it's still. I said this on the last time I covered this show, but I'll say it again. Is that it's amazing that this show about like basically that's just like fuck ICE, fuck Trump is
Yeah.
like on Disney Plus, and it's just like streaming,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
and it's to the point where it's like, it didn't happen this season, but like the Punisher calls all the people wearing the cops wearing the Punisher badges, he calls them fucking clowns, because that's
Yeah,
what they are both in this show and in real life,
yeah, yeah.
and like I love that they're still like wearing the Punisher things, even though they kidnapped him and then he escaped to go murder like a bunch of Italians or whatever in the thing we'll talk about
Yeah,
later.
yeah, yeah, whatever
But
that is that he did.
yeah, but like I really think it's incredible that they're getting away with, the creators are getting away with making this thing and putting
Yeah,
it on a
yeah,
streaming service in this day and age where like
yeah.
Colbert is getting canceled for telling a joke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as far as like the portrayal of like protesters stuff goes, like, I don't expect like a deep, breakdown of, local organizing or whatever.
Mhm.
It's just something that like that's like the one like real blind spot of the MCU is every time they try to like portray some kind of, you know, protest movement type thing. I'm mostly talking about the Flag Smashers. I think
I was thinking, yeah,
it's
this is the flag smashers. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
You
I
got to
mean, I
do
guess
better.
they did better than that for sure.
Yeah.
You got to do better, MCU, when you are talking about revolutionary politics. But that's neither here nor there. You shouldn't really be looking for that in the MCU of all places. You should probably read a book about it or something, you know. But yeah, anytime I see any protest stuff, I'm like, all right, let's see how they're gonna do it this time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we should talk a little bit about Poindexter.
Bullseye. Yeah, yeah.
I just want a whole section of talking about his fucking intro, that episode, like where he's like the main character. I think it's episode what 4.
Uh,
But he just, man, I watched that episode twice because
yeah.
it was so fun. Just him gleefully just
Mm.
killing people with ease, and because like you've never seen him like this, really. I feel like everything before this, he's had this kind of sad, kind of like hurt thing going. Like obviously he's still killing people like a badass, but he's not enjoying it. And this is the first time you really see him like really enjoy it and embrace the fucking his nature or whatever.
Mhm.
And yeah, the music was great, the cinematography was great, and then he does the fucking bullseye and the with the ketchup.
Yeah.
Just chef's kiss
No,
intro scene.
it really is a fun episode, and he's such a much more fun character than he was on that
Mhm.
old Daredevil. He's really
Yeah,
leaning into just
yeah,
the like, and like we said, he leveled up. Like he's like bouncing forks off of like windows and shit like that to like kill. And
yeah,
it's I think it works. I'm skipping ahead a little bit to what we'll talk about later, but it works so much better than like what
yeah.
happens with the Punisher One Last Kill, which is just so just like dour. Whereas this, he's like really having a good time, and it's like the
Yeah,
kills are fun, and it's also just like, oh yeah, he's not killing like nameless dudes who look like Flea from the
yeah,
Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's
yeah,
killing like these fucking this
yeah,
Gestapo guys, and you were just
yeah.
kind of like, you're like,
So
oh man.
satisfying.
You're like, Bullseye, I'm kind of on your side on this one. I go off, Bullseye. Like, fucking, I mean, one that's happening in this, like, family diner.
Oh, and then he's still like OCD though. He's like, you really shouldn't have your dog in a restaurant. You know, like he is still Poindexter. You know.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Okay, do you
Mm.
think that he is potentially a mutant? This has been making the
Oh,
rounds a little bit in the nerd circles. I think
interesting.
he's a good potential mutant for the coming saga.
He could be,
Because
yeah,
like
he could be a mutant. That's interesting.
it shows that he did like training or whatever. And, he was doing it for a long time or whatever. But like some of the stuff he's doing is really starting to get to be like supernatural level of like bouncing off of surfaces and controlling like something. There's something else going on. Maybe I think he's
Yeah,
a
that's
prime
interesting.
suspect.
He could definitely be a mutant. I mean, this is not going to happen, but I think it would be really cool if they were like, he's an Inhuman. Because remember, like, as you said, you're an
Oh,
Agents of Shield.
right, right, yeah,
Remember,
yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
they're the Inhumans. They're all over the world, and it's just like, no, they
Oh
were
my
never
god.
mentioned again in any MCU property ever, except for
Well,
Inhumans, which they're
Multiverse
on.
Madness. Yeah,
Okay, I
except for
guess,
Multiverse of Madness,
yeah,
right?
they do get, yeah,
That was
another dimension. But
amazing that they brought him back. That was such a
yeah.
ballsy move.
That was incredible. That was
Yeah.
my review for that movie was just like me watching Inhumans in 2017. This is never gonna matter to anything. Me in 2021, Kevin Feige, you son of a bitch. Like
You son of a
it's no,
bitch, you've done it.
yeah. No, but that would
And
be
you
cool if he was a mutant or something like that. I think that would
Yeah,
be a really
yeah.
cool vibe to
Well,
go.
yeah, if I recall, there was like copyright stuff with the mutants, with the
Yeah, because
Fox
they
and
were
stuff,
owned
where
by
they're trying to like
Fox. Yeah.
recreate the mutants, but not so, and it just never,
Mhm.
none of it took off.
No.
It
It
was like, well,
really,
you're just doing the mutants again. It's like,
yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, and then on Agents of Shield, they were like, they're all over the place, and I'm like, why is no one ever mentioning them then? Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
is Iron Man never once been like that Inhuman? I gotta fight, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That would be so interesting if they tried to bring that back so late in the game.
Yeah,
But I think they're probably just gonna fold them all into the mutants
yeah, no,
category. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I
Um,
think you're right about that.
yeah. I'll never forget the Medusa wig. It was so like
It's bad.
probably the worst special effect in that whole
Mhm.
series.
And then they were like,
Uh,
let's just cut her hair off so we don't have to animate this.
right, right. That's right. Oh man, I couldn't get through it.
Yeah,
Um,
it was rough. It was
yeah.
very very rough.
Yeah, but the caravan of garbage about the Inhumans is very
Mm.
good. If
I need to
you're
watch that. I might have
yeah,
actually seen it. I did. Yes, way back
yeah,
then.
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember
That
watching it. Yeah,
that's the way I got it. That's the only way I
yeah.
was able to consume Inhumans
That's
is through
fair.
the lens of those Australian dudes.
But
Um,
yeah, yeah, no. I think like the way they are in a lot of the stuff is really cool. We already talked about like Jessica
yeah,
Jones and Luke
yeah,
Cage and all this, and obviously Punisher doesn't show up in this, but he was in the last season. But there are definitely
yeah. It
references to
was
the
having
wider
him not
world.
show up at all was very interesting. I was
I
like,
Yeah.
okay,
I thought they were gonna be like, okay, this is because One Last Kill comes out right after it, so I was like, okay, this is gonna Daredevil's gonna lead into One Last Kill, which is gonna lead into Spider-Man because we see Frank Castle in the Spider-Man trailer.
yeah,
But
it all seemed to line up pretty like
mhm,
in a very normal way.
yeah, and they're like,
Uh,
we're not gonna do any of that.
yeah, you see Punisher in the trailer for
Mhm,
Spider-Man, so you're like, oh well, I mean, he's hanging out with Spider-Man.
mhm,
So yeah, it's very interesting how it played out.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
Well,
just want to talk about though.
yeah.
So Poindexter, there's the whole arc where we have Trump. Sorry, Fisk is has a fucking fight on television
Mhm.
with some guy who
Oh,
knows,
yeah.
just some guy that decided to say yes to that. Um, while we are currently watching as they prepare for a UFC fight on the White House lawn.
Right. It's like
So
how
I
the
just
boys
want
kept
to
accidentally predicting shit that Trump
yeah,
would do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty. We live in a bizarre time, to put it lightly. But yeah, I thought that was a very like maybe like this is okay. We won't talk about the boys much, but that just came out. I don't know if you you're caught up or
I'm
anything,
way behind,
but
yeah.
you might have read some articles about how like some of the stuff that they wrote about, like Trump kind of stole their thunder because he got to it before they could, you know. I feel like this was almost it was a similar situation, where they just, kind of looking at what's happening, they're extrapolated and it just kind of lined up in some fun ways.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and what I really, really appreciate about that episode and the following episode, which I think are probably maybe the peak of the season. I mean, season finale is great, but um, yeah, the fact that like she is dying, or sorry, I'm skipping forward. So there's the fight. Poindexter comes in after him and Daredevil's day, and he does get to not he doesn't hit her, but Fisk like breaks this glass thing that he throws at her, and then part of that shard gets into her. And at the end of that episode, you're thinking, "Oh shit, what the fuck? Fisk is gonna explode, go crazy," And then what I thought was so good about this season and so smart is the next episode. It just slows everything down. It's not like you're expecting like some like big action because Fisk is a explosive
Mhm.
guy. But they just take you as an audience, like just slow it down. And they're like, no, actually, she's in like not a coma, but she's on life support. She's not dead yet. Rather than just having her die straight away, we get to sit with that and we get to wonder if she's going to survive, and we get to see Fisk like grapple with potentially losing the one thing that he actually cares about. Meanwhile Matt's going through his arc with Bullseye. That for me is an episode that exemplifies how it's better than the Netflix times, because in the Netflix times an episode like that would have been pure filler, and
Yeah, yeah.
instead it was one of the best episodes of the season as far as like the themes and like what they were able to really nail down about who Matt is and who Fisk is. It was such a beautiful character building episode, and I could see, I was like, this should be a filler episode. This has all the markings of a filler episode. Not many locations, very few people in the the overall story of the episode, and like I was like, I remember those episodes from the first couple of seasons of Daredevil where I was like, that was a waste of an hour, you know. So yeah, just such a good job of making stuff that should be kind of dull still very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this show does very well. I think the old Daredevil show did it very well at points. Like I always think of that episode where Frank is has Daredevil tied up, and they're just kind of debating the
Oh
philosophy of
yeah,
like, is it
that's a
right to
great
kill
scene.
somebody?
Yeah,
And there's some similar vibes to that with Daredevil talking to Karen and Bullseye, and then
right.
whenever he has like a conversation with Fisk, I think, and as good as like the fighty punch up stuff is, and like how like
Yeah.
Daredevil will hear something and the aspect ratio will change. That shit is
Oh,
always
the
really
aspect ratio
cool.
stuff's great. Yeah,
Right? Love
yeah,
that. And that shit is all like awesome. It's cool to see Daredevil doing his superhero shit. But
yeah,
like the best stuff is just like when it's these characters like debating what is morally right, what is wrong. And
yeah,
Matt is like going to a church and like, like praying, and Jessica Jones shows up. It's like, all right, let's go down here, buddy. Like that shit is all
yeah,
really good. And that's why I feel like the last episode of this is so fantastic, because it is just it's in a courtroom. It's just Matt Murdock being like not even Daredevil for like a good
yeah,
like 2/3 of that episode. It's
yeah,
all
yeah,
just like their philosophies coming at each other and like seeing who can outwit who, and whose moral philosophy will end up taking the high ground, and who is
yeah,
willing to sacrifice. And that's why I think Matt is such a good character, especially in that moment. Is he ultimately is like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to sacrifice, my life as a vigilante. I'm going to sacrifice my freedom to take
yeah,
down Fisk, to accomplish this
yeah,
greater good. And he doesn't do that as Daredevil. He does that as, I mean, he does by merging his Matt Murdock and Daredevil, by admitting
yeah, yeah, yeah,
who he really is. And that's when it all comes apart for Fisk in such an incredible, because sometimes,
yeah,
some of those like older Netflix stuff, when they would be like in the was like, all right, this isn't that great, but it
Yeah.
really works here. And then that
Yeah.
leads into like a really great finale that has a lot of action in it, where like
Yeah.
Jessica Jones and Matt are like all fighting down the hallways and stuff like that, and Fisk starts like going crazy and like throwing people up against the walls, and you're like, oh shit. And then
Yeah.
you have like the protesters come in, and Matt's like trying to get him to stop. And then the ultimate thing of the show is not can Fisk or Matt win in a fight.
Yeah.
It's him like being like, hey, just like a lot of the great confrontations between these characters, it's them talking and him like, you need to walk away. If you really love this city,
Yeah.
you will leave, and he's finally able to convince him and
Yeah.
have that moral victory. And I think that's so good.
Yeah.
And I think the capper to that is even better, where it's just like, yeah, Fisk loses, but
Mhm.
his losing is like going to a beautiful beach.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
whenever
Yeah.
these people
Yeah.
in power get ousted,
Yeah.
they're going off to Mar-a-Lago or wherever. They're not
Yeah.
like, when Trump leaves, he's not gonna like go off and like go to prison. He's gonna go off and like retire to a nice beach, whatever.
Yeah.
Have,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Matt, meanwhile, the one who actually sacrificed, he's in jail. That's how he ends this season. I think
Yeah.
that was just like a
Yeah.
perfect ending for these characters in this season. Obviously, we'll see more like later on. We've already seen
Yeah.
season 3. By the way, Iron Fist confirmed. We've seen that
Right.
he's
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's
I'm
so,
excited
yeah.
for what happens in the future. But like, this was a perfect ending for these 2 seasons, I thought. What do you think of the whole ending?
I really I like the courtroom stuff. I like the I am, he had his I am Iron Man moments, which is kind of becoming like the calling card of the MCU is I am something.
Right.
You know. But yeah, that was just a classic moment. I love that he wasn't too flashy, he just threw his fucking baton or whatever and caught it. And
Makes
yeah,
the
they built
blind
up.
man. He's like, boom, great. It was such a
Yeah,
great beat.
they build up to it pretty good.
Mhm.
Like you can see, like Fisk is like, "Are you? You're really gonna do this?"
And he's whispering. I love that when he's like
All the
whispering him,
whispering,
and
yeah,
then
the
like
whispering
Matt
stuff
says
is
something
good.
back, and it's like he's not going to hear you. He doesn't have super hearing.
Oh yeah, and then he actually responds to him
Mhm.
he on
Yeah.
accident. And he's like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
oh, and I love. Okay, speaking of his supersonic hearing stuff, like I love the through line throughout the series where he puts that watch into the case, the weapons case.
Yeah. Yeah. That
And
was cool.
he like always knows where that case of weapons is.
Hmm.
I was like, that right there, that's like that Batman-y stuff. That's that
Hmm.
like him being like a good investigator, smart guy,
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
always appreciate any superhero taking that, step. But I love that the continuity of that like bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say so we've talked about how Bullseye could be a mutant.
Hmm.
What about Fisk? Because either he's some kind of mutant or he's taken some sort of soldier serum, like maybe a light dose or something, but he is yeeting motherfuckers. Like he is, it was, I mean, at some point, I think we do need an answer to that question because between that and like kind of his seeming like almost invulnerability in the Hawkeye show, like he's juicing. Like there's something going on with Fisk. I don't know what yet, but
See,
I hope eventually we get an answer.
I kind of hope they just keep him as a regular human, because I love that there was that fight where he's like having the fight with Daredevil right next to the like white painting that like
Right.
has become so important to both of them.
Yeah.
And there's a moment where he like put like, because he's just like really wailing on him, like, damn, he is just like the strongest motherfucker alive. And there's a point where he like punches a wall and it breaks,
Yeah,
and
he
you're like,
punches him.
that's the moment I'm like, okay, this is straining credulity just like a little bit, but then but then Fisk is like, like his hand, he's like, oh
He
fuck,
does,
I
yeah,
fucked
he
up
does
my
feel
hand.
it. He does
So it's like,
feel it.
okay, he is a person. Like he can,
Yeah.
like he's like most
Well,
shows.
that's
I
why
feel
I'm
like a
thinking
lot of
like a
things would be like,
light super soldier serum. Like, cause like he's not Captain America strong,
mhm,
he's definitely
yeah,
not at that level. But I think that he is like above the level that a normal
mhm.
human can attain, I mean, maybe it's just pure rage. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe there's just something in there.
Well, it's the
May
same way that even though Hawkeye, or not Hawkeye, the new Winter Soldier never took the superhero serum, but he's
right.
still like he's still he's not doing Captain America shit, but he's still pretty much invulnerable, like bouncing off
Yeah,
walls and stuff like
he's
that.
got like magic Wakanda tech that kind of
Yeah,
fills in the blanks of the
yeah,
super soldier stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, I do wonder though, like especially since Hawkeye, I've been like, did he get a bit of that too? But yeah, he like broke that guy's back like
yeah,
against the wall. It's like, dude, what the hell, man? Like you can't be mayor and fucking cracking, you can't just be doing that,
yeah,
you know. So it's like, it's pretty clear, like he's just like, all right, I'm gonna take as
yeah,
many of these guys with me
yeah.
as I can.
Exactly. No.
Um, so yeah, it was like visually incredibly like satisfying, but I will say without super soldier stuff, it does border almost on comedic. The at least him just one by one throwing people around. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no,
But
he's
yeah,
a lot of fun. Like Vincent
yeah,
D'Onofrio is clearly having a
yeah,
very very good time with this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and to circle back to something you remind me because there's so many other great characters we haven't even really touched on that show up in this show,
Oh yeah, we
and
had the BB
mhm.
and what's his name?
Oh yeah, the
Side
guy,
quest.
yeah, side quest,
Daniel.
like yeah, Michael Gandolfini's character, yeah,
Yes.
but yeah, he's great. And then what the big introduction is, have Matthew Lillard who shows up.
Oh yeah.
It's so good to see him in this, and he's clearly having a good time. And I really like that aspect because we talked about obviously how this ties so much into the totalitarian state that we're living through, and
Yeah.
how there's all these shady dealings happening, like
Yeah.
especially now with like the Iran war and everything, like with Trump and like guns and like all like
Yeah.
like a blockade happening in a body of water, which obviously I don't
Yep.
like. This was made before that even happened, but
Yep.
it also ties back
I got that in my
into
notes.
it ties back into history, right? It ties back into
Yeah.
the Iran Contra affair and how the CIA is like the one doing this. Like they call him I think a CIA spook at one point. He's clearly working. They
Yeah.
say he's
Yeah.
working with the agency. We know what
Yeah.
agency they're
First
talking
it says
about.
he's from Langley, and it's just kind of
Hmm.
assumed.
Hmm. So
But
it
yeah.
ties into all the like crazy shit that the CIA has done over the
Yeah.
years and is still
Yeah.
in many ways doing. So I really
Yeah.
like that little wrinkle and how he's kind of working with Fisk, but then he like is like, all right, well now that you're useless to me, I'm gonna get rid of you. And there's the implication that like he had some dirt on Luke Cage, so he's making Luke Cage do some stuff. But I love that little bow where Cage is like he found somebody else, and you find out that it's Bullseye. So you're like, all right, everybody wins, everybody gets what they wanted in this situation. What do you think of
Yeah.
Lillard in
Yeah.
this?
I wanted more of him. I wanted more
Mhm.
Lillard. I That's the only thing is he was a fun character, and I hope he's like in. I mean, if they ever get to it, like a Thunderbolts 2 or something, I think he'd slot in right fine with like the vibe of those movies. Um, I'm hoping that they have big plans for him. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that he's a character that's gonna pop up in a lot of stuff and become an important like seedy backwoods bad guy. There's some
Mhm.
people that think he might be Trask. There's some people that think that he could be one of the important characters in the kind of saga where they're like vilifying the X-Men and stuff, which I think they're gearing towards like kind of this kind of militarization and like policing of those with powers. So
Mhm.
like he's probably, I hope he's going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, and that could be
Yeah.
like him like kind of using Bullseye. That could definitely, and if
Yeah.
Bullseye is a mutant, like we were saying, that could
Yeah.
even play into that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I mean, absolutely. Because like, obviously, he's in contact with the Thunderbolts, but
Mhm.
I just don't know. I just don't know what's going to happen with Doomsday and stuff. And
Right, right. Yeah,
who we're
yeah.
going to lose. Well,
Yeah.
I know one person we're going to lose, but I don't want to spoil it for people that aren't following the comic trades.
Yeah. But yeah,
But there's one person that was recently cast in the DC universe. But
fair, fair.
yeah. But yeah, he was fun. And I yeah, Gandolfini was excellent.
Yeah,
Especially like really kind of channeling a bit of his dad, being in the shady business dealings and
yeah.
but being like more on the good side of it.
The kind of guy who like just like,
Overall,
yeah, Trump, yeah, I think he's good for our country. He's probably not gonna get us into any wars, you know. And then they kind of like realize,
yeah.
oh, maybe I've sold my soul here.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought, that you really do think he's gonna go all the way with it. He might go all the
Yeah.
way and sacrifice BB, which I was watching and I was like, "Oh no, they're not gonna kill BB too. They
Mhm.
already killed her grandpa. They're not gonna
Yeah.
kill her too." And so as a viewer, I was glad that she didn't die. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
that being said, I was very sad that his character was disposed of. Spoilers,
Yeah.
guys.
But I feel like
Um,
that was the only way for that character's arc to end, really. You know, like
it
when
was
they were
yeah,
almost
yeah.
kissed,
It
I was
was
like, I don't know about that. I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a bold move because he is, I
Mhm.
think, a fan favorite. I think he is already
Mhm.
become, someone that people are talking about his performance at least a lot,
Mhm.
because he did he was just such a great character, just such a great
Mhm.
piece of the whole puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, it's, of course, it'd be sad not to see more of him. But yeah, he had a great arc. He had a really good
Yeah.
arc.
Yeah. Really
So,
good arc, and
that's the
I
best
liked
best you can ask for as a character at
right.
least.
Yeah, I thought his arc was great. I thought BB's arc, the kind of like social justice aspect, the kind of like,
That was
reporting.
interesting.
Yeah, and
It is.
then
I
her.
do gotta think as a
Yeah.
content creator, both creating the BB report and doing the underground thing, that's a lot of work,
That is a
first
lot.
of all.
She's doing a lot, but I
And
like that
she gets that stuff out fast.
she does. It was like there was a
Like,
point when like she was like already reporting on like Fisk's trial. I was like,
yeah.
that just happened,
She
but
has to
okay.
have There has to be an editor. There has to be another person involved
Yeah.
in this process because,
Mhm.
we've done plenty of editing ourselves.
Mhm.
It's not just instantaneous a lot of the time.
No.
So yeah, I think there's another person involved in the
Yeah.
BB situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gotta be.
but yeah, and then quick, yeah, so it was her uncle, to just say, not her grandfather, who was Ben
Uncle,
from
right,
the
right,
old show,
right.
yeah. But
Yeah,
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 and then you
yeah,
get
yeah,
that cool beat where you see, like, his old office from the old show, and you see all the headlines that he
yeah,
wrote. I thought that was really cool.
yeah. They did a really good
Um,
job of giving each character from the old show kind of a
mhm,
moment at least.
yeah,
Bring Wesley back.
mhm,
So that he can at least be on screen for the Disney era,
yeah,
and
yeah.
passing the torch on to the Fisk's next serial killer guy, right
Yeah,
hand
yeah,
man.
what was his name?
I forget.
It
He's
was
a
like
fun
it was
guy too. He's a fun
Buck.
guy too.
He was
Fuck.
fun.
Yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah.
a good like enforce, like just kind of like
Yeah,
the guy he's very reminiscent of that West character, and I love how we
yeah,
find out that he was recruited. He was an old friend of his, and that's how he got
yeah.
involved in this whole thing. And
And he really wanted to recruit dude. He really
yeah,
wanted for Daniel to go the full 9 yards. He wanted
yeah.
him to be one of his boys, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, and he's like when
Like
he's like, "I'm not enjoying this," when he's like beating the shit out of Daniel, you can tell he
yeah,
believes it. He's
yeah,
not like
yeah.
completely like he's not a sociopath. He's just a shitty person.
Yeah, yeah, I like that about him. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's he's weirdly got a heart
yeah.
considering the things that he does do, you know?
Right, right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's like it's almost like anytime it was like those characters, I felt like we were in like the early seasons of House of Cards. You know what I mean?
Right, right, exactly. Like they had a real cool back and forth. Especially when you started to notice that they were going that direction where they were going to spend more screen time together. I was like, "Huh, I wonder what this is going to be like." And it was fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there was some good Instagram reels about them behind the scenes during that scene, because they were in the car all day together, I guess. So yeah, they were having fun.
nice, nice. I love
Um,
it.
but yeah, BB report, hard working report that one.
She really
Um,
is.
and Yeah, I don't know what the ratings are yet for the season or whatever. I don't know if that's publicly available, but I will say there has been a lot of nerd stuff to consume this past couple of months between the Mall show coming out, The Boys,
Mhm.
Invincible.
Oh,
They
Invincible, yeah.
definitely have a lot of competition this time
Mhm.
around for the audience that is going to be watching them. So I hope that people after the fact, now that all this stuff is out, they'll be going back and watching more of. It's getting good scores on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff, but I heard on like one video them saying that like it's underperforming or something. But
Interesting.
my theory is just that there's just so much shit coming
Honestly,
out
yeah,
for us
because
nerds.
I was watching Invincible week to week, and like this was like I was like enjoying it, but I wasn't like as tuned into it as I was until I was like
Yeah,
binging a good chunk
yeah,
of it, and then I went on my cruise and came back and finished it.
yeah,
And yeah, it's I think it is just a little bit
yeah.
overcrowded, and then like now it's like, oh, we got to watch. There's the new Spider-Man show coming out, so with Nick
Yeah, I'm
Cage,
probably
so
gonna throw that
there's a
on right after this, man.
lot. Brendan Gleeson is Tombstone, like fuck, dude. Like
Yeah, well, just
that's
the
some good
fact that
casting.
Nicolas Cage is doing this, like,
Yeah,
man, he
it's
never
so
ceases
cool.
to amaze me.
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage.
he's incredible. He's incredible.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, any last thoughts on Daredevil Born Again season 2 before we go
Before
to
we
the
before we
other thing?
dive into the before we dive into Punisher. No, I don't have many. Oh wait, Swordsman was great. Swordsman was great.
I was gonna say that was my last thing I had to say
Can't
was
forget
Tony
Swordsman.
Dalton. Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
do a lot in this, and he disappears pretty early on. But Tony Dalton is just fucking
I
so much fun in this, and I
I
want him to
hope they
be in
just
more
keep
stuff.
peppering him into all of the
Mhm.
shows. I just
Yeah.
hope he just keeps on running into them for whatever reason, and he's
Mhm.
like, "I guess I'm fighting with you guys again," you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that would be amazing.
yeah. But yeah, that's one thing that I will say, like, some videos are like, "Why didn't he mention at all that he had, like, a daughter that might be able to help?"
Oh
She
yeah.
got but, like, obviously, Haley Steinfeld's like it's a big probably a big check these days to bring her on
Yeah,
the screen.
yeah.
But so I get it. But yeah, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, glad to hear that. And now, something
Oh, that
that
was
was
their
gonna
one
be
shot. That was their one shot scene too. That was the jail was their, one they there was cuts, but it was their like one shot for the season was
what was it?
the escaping the jail with the swordsman.
Oh, okay. I don't
Yeah,
even know,
yeah,
like okay. Oh, yeah, 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 that 'cause yeah, they always do the, like, the one or yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah,
Ever since the
yeah,
first season, yeah,
yeah, that
the
was
old
cool.
boy.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was very cool,
yeah, yeah,
seeing all that, and I kinda forgot, like, Punisher escapes, so I was like, "Where's Punisher?" Just never shows up, and
yeah,
so,
yeah.
that's why it's awkward to transition to this next part because it's
Yes.
awkward to
So
watch it because I was, like, thinking, like, "Oh, I'll watch all these episodes," and it's about the length of a Daredevil, so, like, this'll just be like an epilogue. Has nothing to do with it at all.
nothing at all.
Nothing
Not
is
not a single thing.
not a single thing is referenced. It's just like Frank Castle killed a bunch of dudes off screen, and now he's in Little Italy, which is apparently the wasteland from Mad Max. Like, and he just
Yeah,
so
basically.
yeah. What were your thoughts on this thing?
Oh man, I really enjoyed it. I watched it twice.
Yeah.
It's pretty over the top.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty like spoiler alert. It starts with someone killing a dude's dog. So if you're not in for that, then you're not gonna be. You should just stay away from it for now. But they tell you in the first couple of minutes what you're in for, and I will say, okay, yeah, I also thought that it was gonna be, I mean, when we got to the end of Daredevil, I was like, "Huh, I don't see how this is setting up for
Yeah.
any extra stuff
Mhm.
necessarily next week." But the scheduling made me think like, well, it's coming out right after Daredevil.
Like, he
So
was on season
uh,
one so
I
much.
wonder how many people thought that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I thought it was really, really fun. It was a roller coaster ride of a show. And I mean, I John Bernthal is someone that I enjoy almost like on a meme level, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate
He like
motherfuckers that take naps, man.
yeah, let me tell you something. And his yells, man. Oh my god, there was a couple of those yells that like I was laughing so hard. I do like that. It is ultra violent. It's like the rest of the other Punisher movies. It's got a little bit of pieces of the other Punisher movies, kind of too. And you can tell it's a passion project. You can tell it is like as kind of gritty and like ugly it kind of is sometimes. Like you can tell it's a passion project. You know what I mean? And it's something that he really believed in. He really wanted to get out there because it is mostly a John Bernthal passion project. Like he was, given, whatever budget. I think he wrote part of it.
Yeah, so
So
wait,
yeah,
it came up and I was like, "Oh shit, he wrote it." I mean, that makes
yeah,
sense. He co-wrote it with the
yeah,
director.
yeah. So yeah, I think that um at first I wanted it to be longer, like a movie length, but I kind of appreciate the length that it is because it's like I said, it's like a roller coaster ride. And if it was too much longer, it might have overstayed its welcome.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was there was so much violence. There's
It really was. It really
there's
was.
so much. He killed so many people.
It's just like it's like a video game almost, just like the amount
Yeah,
of and like
yeah,
I'm glad it worked for you. It didn't really work as well for me because I could feel like
yeah,
the John Bernthal of it all, and I love how we talked
yeah,
about before. Like we're like, oh man, there's all this like moral dilemmas about like, is it wrong to like should he kill Kingpin? Like Kingpin's calling us all this death, and in this one it's just like. This guy stole a hat and killed a dog. He needs to get shot in the face. And like I'm like killing a dog, not good. I
yeah.
don't know that I want
He
anybody to get
gets shot
shot in the
when
face
he
for killing a
when he
dog.
shot him in the end. I was like, I thought that he like learned him like a lesson at the end,
No.
like, oh,
Zero
that's
lessons
it.
learned in
I'm
this
done.
movie.
I'm done killing, and that's it. He's like, this the guy want me to shoot him in the face, and the guy's just like,
Yup, yup.
he's like, oh fuck, okay. And that's the other thing. What was the last kill? There was like, was that the last kill? Just the last one we see in the
Right, I
special?
almost thought it was gonna be like, is he going after Kingpin? You know, like, that's what I like, leading up to
Oh,
it, I was like,
right,
"Oh,"
right.
like right, I was like, is
Yeah,
it, like, building up to, like, Daredevil's not gonna be able to kill Kingpin, so, like, he
yeah,
has to be the one to, like, this is the last one on the board, Red," like, some shit like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But no, it was like there was, like, the crime family that's never been heard or mentioned before, and there's
That
the evil
apparently is connected to
matriarch.
the deaths of his
Right.
kids.
Which, like, was,
Apparently.
like I remember, like, I'm like, I vaguely remember what happened, like, his buddy betrayed there was, like, all these double crosses involved with that,
There
and
might
Mr.
have been
Krabs was
something
there.
about it in season 2. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah, but that being said, very they I do love that they just kind of throw it at you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? When okay, so he kind of has his like intro thing. He's doing pull-ups on the bar that either has razor blades on it or he's just working out to the point where he's bleeding. Can't quite tell.
Mhm.
And then he jumps off of that and he takes a giant swig of some alcohol and a bunch of pills and he's puking into a bucket. I think he's got like
Yeah.
a bunch of his old buddies, like ghosts, like talking to him, and he's in a bad place.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
one of the things that's really funny, he's also yelling a lot, like he does, and he lives in an apartment.
Mhm.
Like his neighbors are hearing all of that,
Right.
like
And also,
at
he's
all
like a
times.
fugitive. Like they go over multiple times, and like both in this show and in like
Yeah.
Daredevil season 2, that like Frank Castle is like wanted and like a fugitive, and they're just like, but he grew a beard. We don't really recognize him anymore.
Well, okay, that's the part that I do actually kind of believe. He kind of
Okay.
does have like an Omar from The Wire kind of status, I think, where like
Okay.
they can call the police, but do the police want to die that day?
I mean, the thing is,
Like,
they have a whole like task force
I mean,
rounding up these
after this
guys.
incident, I think that it might be prudent to put some men on this.
Yeah.
Um, but
But they're all in jail now. Like they like all the superhero roundup squad is all in jail. Which
yeah, yeah,
good, but Punisher.
yeah,
I
yeah,
that's what I think. I think the Punisher for me works better as a supporting character because I think he's
yeah,
a good opposing viewpoint to have. But when he's
definitely.
the
Yes.
focus, I don't think it works quite as well. He's a good person to be like, oh, I'm going to kill Fisk. I'm going to do this, and Daredevil will be
Well,
like, no,
I
I
think
disagree with that.
I think Bernthal's Punisher is mostly a meditation on PTSD and
Yeah.
like the Iraq war and like, current warfare type stuff. It seems to be a big thing that Bernthal is passionate about in general, and I think that's like probably the thing that, it the serious matter that it does grapples with the best, probably because it's still about his like he's still stuck in his marine brain, and he's got his marine friends that are making fun of him, but then there's that one guy that was also kind of his support, that was like, hey, do you need to talk to me, do you need to call someone,
Who
but
still might be alive, interestingly, because he talks to Karen
yeah,
too.
yeah. I think that guy is. I don't think he died in the seasons.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think that the first like kind of 10-15 minutes, where it's kind of just a meditation on his PTSD and his he almost kills himself at the grave of his kids, or his mom, his family. Um, which that I thought that might have been the one last kill, but no. But
He's Spider-Man, so it can't be,
yeah, exactly. That's true. It's true. But yeah, okay, that was one of the yells that I laughed at the hardest, though, was he doesn't shoot himself. It gets to the end of that, he sees like his daughter in a vision in front of him. Doesn't kill himself, and then he doesn't have to do this. At the very end of that part, he yells. He does the gutter, "Ah!" And it's like, but it's a yell he's normally doing when he's like killing people, So it felt very out of place. And
There's a couple of
really,
those in this
yeah,
episode.
he's laying on those yells thick in this
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
He like the one where he falls through, like he's like falling through like a umbrella thing on the side of a
Mhm.
building, and he's doing the same yell. Um, oh man,
Yeah,
I wish
I
I
feel
could
like
imitate it, but it's so good.
yeah, it's such a Bernthal thing, and, like, I think he's always so good in these, like, I'm very excited for him in Spider-Man, I loved seeing him in Daredevil
Daredevil
and
does a lot too
yeah.
in this season. I will say
Mhm.
he's
Yeah.
also got a very good
Mhm.
anger yell.
Yeah. Well, I feel
Sorry,
it's
what were you
interesting,
gonna
I feel I was gonna say, I feel like the first half of this episode is like Rambo 1, where it's like this meditative thing about, like,
say?
this
Right.
Ed who's come back and he's messed up and he's got all this PTSD and there's all these people that are like kind of like out to get him and he's like on the run a little bit, and then the second half
Yeah.
just becomes the rest of the Rambo movies where he just fucking kills everybody. Like he's just like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill how am I gonna solve my PTSD? I'm just gonna fucking kill everybody, and just like,
Yeah.
and he just saves that
Yeah.
family that's kind of been
I
recurring
do
through.
I do like the setup for it.
Mhm.
That's what I was getting to. The setup for it's
Mhm.
great because he comes back to his apartment after not killing himself, and you don't really quite know yet in the special what it's about, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're paying attention, you know that he took the key from his locker for his guns, and he left it at the grave, like he was gonna stop doing the stuff. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, so like he doesn't have his weapons, although honestly, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to just break the wall around it and get him out. Besides the point, he the late this lady shows up in like a electric wheelchair thing, and you don't know what she's doing there, and she just kind of rolls up, and she has a really cool like speech that like connects their like themes, and like they have like the same problem where they've lost their families, and then like I realized like halfway through the speech, like, oh, she's talking about him. And then one by one it shows the scenes of him killing her kids and stuff, and I loved her intro. I like her whole intro and speech, and like the setup for it, before it does just become the raid, basically. Have you seen the raid?
I have seen the raid, yeah.
Yeah. I watched it very recently, so like it
Mhm.
was on the mind, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my god, Punisher's doing the raid. you know
yeah.
so that's the lens I viewed it through. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm locked in now. Punisher's doing the raid.
Yeah, yeah, no, he's
um,
just fighting a bunch of guys in a building. He's just got to get
yeah,
out.
yep, he's got to get out, and I will say to speak to the ultra violence for a second. The only way that I can kind of headcanon this is that some of these kills are not happening or are not real or something. Because like there's the one part where he's like walking through the city and there's like a police car on fire that goes rolling by and stuff.
No,
I
it's
think
this
that
fucking
scene
Mad
was
Max.
well, yeah, well, that's the thing. I think some of those scenes are supposed to be in his head, maybe, but it's
I,
like
I mean,
it's
mate,
kind
I
of
didn't think that
unclear
way, but
what's I think that
yeah,
there's one specific scene where like you see the police car roll by and then it's on fire a little too quickly. You know what I mean?
it
Like
was
there
very
wasn't
quick to
time
be like.
for
I
it.
was like, it was like almost like an SNL sketch. That whole scene of him walking down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah, but I think the first scene of him walking down the street is supposed to be like maybe an exaggerated like PTSD because he does start hearing like actual machine guns at one point. You know what I mean? So like I think that at least that scene it sets up that there's a little bit of like maybe some it's the PTSD and him imagining things. Also, it's the only way I can justify this existing in the MCU.
See,
Like
that's the thing. I think it's the same thing as like the Kingpin. Like, how is Kingpin so strong? I don't think he. It's
yeah.
just like how does Frank Castle fall off a building into like a thing where like it looks like a PS2 graphic and he smashes it and it
Oh,
hits
the
his
vent
head.
thing. That was
The
an
vent thing.
interesting vent gate.
Yes, yes. And it's
What
like the same way the same way that Kingpin is so strong is how he's doing all this shit. It's just like it's a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
heightened reality.
Yeah, but I think that there is a little bit there is a little bit in the actual story that might actually, clear up a little bit of it. I'm just saying,
Okay,
you know what I mean?
interesting.
It's just the fact
Yeah.
that he's seeing people that aren't there sometimes. I think
Hmm.
most of the raid is supposed to be happening, which is
Hmm.
troubling. But there's some parts where I think that the violence in the background is like is embellished. You know what I mean?
I
Kind of
can
for
look for you
artistic
again. Yeah,
reasons, kind
yeah,
of.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. No.
But yeah, clearly though, there's yeah, a lot of dudes killed. I don't know that the amount of guys he killed is like gonna help anything because they all got families, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
So really, really fun ride, but yeah, it's very it almost doesn't like exist in the MCU because of how ultra violent it is.
Right, right. It's like, oh, this is existing in the same world where there's like a planet where they all sing and like there's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and if you go to Europe, there's like Vikings living like or not Viking, there's like
yeah,
Asgardians living in a Viking society, and
yeah,
like it's weird. Like I love just thinking about how weird and vast the MCU
yeah,
is, and it's something
yeah.
that I feel like there is one. I don't know if you ever watched What If, but there's one episode of What If that I think actually does a really good job of being like, there's so much weird shit in the MCU, and it's the episode where they're like it's the Howard the Duck episode where like she and following her and
Oh, they
Darcy
have a
getting married.
kid.
And they have like the egg, and like everybody
Yeah,
is like
yeah,
going after the egg. So it's just like there's like ice giants and like Thanos and like Agent Coulson is there and like all and like the
yeah,
sorcerers from like Doctor Strange. It's like all these things you are
yeah,
like, oh yeah, these all exist in the same universe. This is fucking weird if you think about it. And they're all like going for this one egg. I think that was a
yeah,
really good like.
yeah,
So it's one of those things you think about like there's just so much shit that exists in the
yeah,
MCU that
yeah,
like you can have a gritty Frank Castle kills half of a Burrow story, or you can be like, and now
yeah,
we're on like a goofy adventure on this space planet. Like you can do
yeah,
both.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just so
yeah,
it's so fun that you can
yeah.
strike these different tones.
Yeah, I am definitely glad that we do get that variety, and
Mm.
because like I was a fan of the Eternals. I know that's a much maligned film. I thought they were doing exactly what the critics of the MCU were asking for a while, which is like, hey, change it up, MCU formula. We need something a little different, and they tried something different, and everyone was mad at them for it. I was just like, what? Come on, guys! They're trying
Yeah.
something a little different, you
I
know?
like the Eternals more than most people. I think for me though it was kind of a half measure where
Yeah,
they were sort of doing what you said, where they're like,
yeah.
"Hey, like we're doing something different," but like it didn't fully commit to being different enough that I was
For
like,
me,
"Eh, it's 3.5 stars."
For me, it was like it felt like a DC movie within the MCU, which I thought was
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, well, especially
It
because you
had a,
have a
it
character who's very much a stand-in for Superman, you know?
right, right, and the deviants kind of had like a
Mhm,
bad guy of the week kind of look to him,
mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was like definitely better than it got credit for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree with that. Yeah, I think
yeah, like
it's got a
it
lot
wasn't
of
like a
hate.
Quantum Mania. You know what I mean?
No, no, no,
Like
no.
yeah, it was better than some of the worst MCU films.
Yeah, it was lukewarm, that was my thing with it.
Yeah,
I was like, I think that's why it got more hate is because
yeah,
it people who were expecting it to be like this, like, oh wow, like you got Chloe Zhao coming off her Oscar win, like they're gonna
yeah.
make some high art in the MCU, and then you have the people who are like, where is the Black Knight? What is that like? What does this lead into? Like, just give
Oh
me
yeah,
more like whatever.
yeah. That's the other thing. They set up so much in that movie.
Right. And it's just like
Like,
it was, I think it tried to please everyone and
yeah.
disappointed everyone instead.
Well, yeah, I will say that the like post credits for that one was probably the moment that I started worrying a little bit about the
Yeah.
MCU. I was like, Harry Styles and like the little guy,
Right.
the Patton
Yeah.
Oswalt character. I was like, I don't know, this one's not
Uh,
really hitting like
mhm.
the
Yeah.
past post credits have been hitting. So
Right,
I
right.
don't know
Yeah,
what this I don't know what this feeling is
yeah, I'm
inside
like,
of
Are they ever gonna come back?" Probably not."
it. That
Yeah,
being said, I've been following all the Marvel news. I'm like so ridiculously excited for Spider-Man and Doomsday and stuff. I think
yeah.
they've been putting in the work to correct some of their less better received stuff, and I think that it's going to pay off. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. back, and some people think that's cool. Some people think that's obvious, like cash out, which
Mhm.
it kind of is.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if it means that I get more superhero movies, I'm okay with it.
yeah. No, I agree. Like, yeah, I'm very, very excited for it. I know a lot of people are down on Marvel these days, but I'm still on board.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what comes
yeah.
next.
I understand. Like they like the TV era of Marvel made people feel like there was like homework,
Mhm.
and it both soured the customers that were watching it, and it stretched too thin their like creative abilities. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of suffered as a result of it, and I think that yeah, they've re-strategized in a way that I'm seeing that it's paying off, at least for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I've
Yeah,
liked a lot of the recent stuff they've done. Thunderbolts, I
yeah.
thought was incredible, and yeah, this obviously
Thunderbolt's so
was
good. It's
so good.
so good. Yeah, yeah. Thunderbolts is probably the best thing they've made in several years.
I I would absolutely agree. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was incredible.
yeah,
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 man. Thank you so much for coming on.
yeah.
Where can people find you and listen to more of your stuff?
Well, I would direct everyone to youtube.com/flyover state park. That is where all of our content lives. We do upload it to Spotify, but our episodes quickly get deleted from Spotify because of copyright stuff. We cover music on my show. So, yeah, YouTube, it stays. So if you want
I
to
was
see the
wondering
whole
why our
backlog,
last episode disappeared, but I guess that must be.
what's up?
I was like, because I noticed our last episode disappeared. I was like, oh
Yeah,
no.
The Killers was one of the first ones,
Yeah,
because you were on one of the Killers episodes, right?
yeah. I did Hot
Yeah,
Fuss. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was one of
Or
the
was it
first
Hot Fuss or
ones that
Sam's
was
Town? We did
taken
Hot
off of
Fuss.
the
Yeah,
feed. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 'Cause I guess their copyright people are litigious.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, in order to subvert the copyright police, we gotta, we have it all on YouTube, which has a little better of a copyright system than Spotify does. And we have a music movies tonight thing we do where we watch music movies. Right now, I'm editing our Blues Brothers watch through, which was a lot of fun. It was my first time watching it. So yeah, it was really, really cool to finally get all the references. And so that should be coming to the channel soon. And yeah, we live stream our episodes usually on Thursday nights. So yeah, if you want to come in and watch us react to an album and then talk about it, we'd really appreciate you stopping by. YouTube.com/Flyover State Park. And the podcast is the Album Concept Hour. So definitely not too much of a mouthful to remember.
I mean, like, hey, I can't talk about mouthfuls. This show is called Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, so like, I'm not gonna give you any guff for that, you know.
Yeah. I do love
Yeah,
the title, though. I've
thank
always
you.
loved the title of this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again for coming on. And if anybody out
Yeah.
there wants to
Thanks for
hear
having me.
any more of my stuff, go ahead and check out Underrated. Look up Underrated Movie Podcast, however you're listening to this, or go to underratedmoviepodcast.com or on any of the socials. You can also check out my Patreon, where, as I mentioned, there's bonus episodes of the show when a lot of times I do adjacent stuff to the MCU. Like I covered Morbius, I covered
Yes.
Madam Web, and but I also covered good stuff. Like I talked about the first Blade movie, and I talked about the Spider-Man animated show from the '90s. So that was a lot of fun. You can also find all kinds of bonus stuff there. There's a whole bonus podcast I do called Amadeus, where I talk about Amadeus in 15-minute chunks that you were.
How's that going? Is that is that finished yet, or is it still?
It's about release-wise, it's about halfway done. So we're in May. 5 of the 12 episodes are out. So I'm almost done recording. I've got a couple episodes left to record, but that was a lot of fun. Your episode came out recently, I want to say. So
nice.
Yeah.
That was a fun time.
Yeah, so it was good. So definitely anybody wanting to hear more of us should check that out, talking about Amadeus. Check all that stuff out. And what's up?
We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Flyover State Park. It is free to sign up. We haven't quite got the hang of putting out bonus material yet, but one day I think we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, I only mention it because if you go to the YouTube and listen to and watch us do a listen through, you'll notice there's no music on the YouTube version. And yes, that's because of the copyright police. If you don't want to hear us chewing on the mic and instead hear the music we're listening to, definitely watch us on the patreon.com/Flyover.
Yeah.
Plug that.
Yeah, good stuff. Head to both those Patreons, guys, and stay tuned here because, like I said, I will be doing in some way Spider-Man Noir coming out, and then of course Spider-Man Brand New Day when it comes out soon.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Until then, I will see you guys all later.
Later.